being here. Good evening and welcome. My name is Whitney Nastasia Antrim, and I'm honored to be your moderator for the 2024 Coronado Democratic Club City Council Candidate Forum. I'd like to start by thanking the Planning Committee for volunteering their time putting this event together. Specifically, Lori Doyle, Patty Charter, Rebecca King, Carol Stanford, Lewin Troxel, and the Public Policy Committee all put a lot of time and effort into getting this event ready. Thank you. I will start with a little bit of history. This event is one of the longest running community forums in our elections. Over the years they've grown, and I recognize how much is being asked of you candidates now, how many events we're having, and we so appreciate your time and energy to be here. I'm going to run through the format for the evening. Each of the questions has a slightly different time allotment for your answers. That time will be announced at the beginning of each question. We have a lovely volunteer keeping time who will hold up signs.
No, I'm going to hold up my fingers.
She's going to hold up fingers.
Like 3, 2, 1.
There you go, and a stop sign for time. Okay, when that's time. And I'm I'm a bit of a beast with the time clock, so I will stop you when time has run. Audience questions are being collected. I have a few here ready to go, but I will try to get as many as I can and get those to our candidates because that's really important. I will thank, as I did before, each of our candidates and introduce you briefly just by name. Please hold your applause till later because we do want to get things going. We have Amy Stewart, Christine Mott, Andrew Gade, Laura Wilkinson-Sinton, and Mark Warner here with us this evening. Mark Fleming is the other candidate. He is traveling with his family and unable to attend. So we have a wonderful quorum with us this evening. I would be remiss not to mention the rise in political violence, rhetoric, and stochastic terror that we are seeing in our country. It takes a lot of courage to run for office in this climate. And we, as your neighbors and friends, the best thing we can do to support these folks is to do everything we can to keep that poison out of our community. If you see something, say something, and if you want to talk to them, I can almost guarantee you that they're going to talk to you. If there's something you have a question about, I'm confident they all got back to me when I had a question, so I know that they're going to get back to you. So put an end to the poison that spreads around, that's not based in reality, that's on social media, and have real conversations and show up to events like this, and this is how we will keep that out of our community. So that said, all right, so I'm going to start with some introductory questions, and we have tried really hard to not make these the same questions y'all are answering everywhere else. So they're hopefully a little spicy, a little make you think, and we're gonna do, like I said, a variety of times. The first question is a 30-second question. The first question is, oh, and I'm sorry, one more thing to format. We're gonna start with a different person each time. There is a microphone that I will ask you to pass if you feel you need it. Some of us have teacher, courtroom, and other room voices, and maybe we don't need it, but it is on and you can pass it. I will rotate with who begins answering each question, so every candidate has at least one opportunity to answer first and answer last, which can be a benefit or a hindrance, depending on how you're doing. So the first question is a 30-second question. Please, Ms. Stewart, I'll start with you. Tell us one thing that distinguishes you from the others running that tells us why we should vote for you.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate it. One thing that distinguishes me is that I'm a longtime resident. I have deep roots in our community. I was a student here. My father was military during the Vietnam War. I lived here growing up. I married a military spouse, and we owned property here from the very beginning and have been deeply rooted in this community in a way that we have given service to our community.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Christine Mott, please tell us what distinguishes you from the others running and tells us why we should vote for you.
Sure, thank you. Well, I would say I'm somebody who is not afraid to do what's right, even if it's hard. Some of you may know me as one of the activists that helped save 5 trees over by the lawn bowling green. I think it takes persistence, somebody who cares deeply about the community and doing the right thing. I stuck my neck out with some other friends I know are here tonight, and it's about doing what really is important for you and for your community, and that's what I've done. I've already demonstrated that.
Time. Thank you very much. Mr. Andrew Gage, would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I've got it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, as a small business owner, as a native Californian who's lived in multiple cities throughout California, have a lot of experience working in over a dozen different jobs in different fields. I'm young. I have a lot of energy. I'm a quick learner. I'm a perfectionist. And so I have a lot to learn. At the same time, also, I'm an independent. I believe that a lot of elections, local elections, should be truly independent, and I feel that gives me the ability to be able to make nice, balanced decisions.
Time. Thank you so much. Ms. Wilkinson-Simpson, please. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Please tell us one thing that distinguishes you from the others running that tells us why we should vote for you.
I believe it's my relentless and fierce protection of our beaches and our environment with the sewage crisis, and my ability to collaborate through public policy with all of the South Bay region, including Mayor Paloma Aguirre and all of them, to finally clean up our beaches once and for all, and to allow for safe beaches and a clean environment. And that relentless pursuit I will bring to every endeavor I do on City Council.
Thank you. And Mr. Warner?
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I'm a 25-year resident of Coronado, and I think the thing that distinguishes me from the other candidates is my deep understanding and experience dealing with the city of Coronado. I work with every single department head, mayor, councilman, commissions over the number of years. I've also engaged with the port, the city of San Diego, the California Coastal Commission, and the State Lands Commission. So this kind of experience is hard to replicate. I think that brings a lot to the table, and I think that would be beneficial for the citizens of Coronado.
I'm right there. Thank you so much. All right. You guys are really good with the time, so I'm not going to have to come down too hard. All right. If you would please pass the microphone to Ms. Mott, and I will move to the second question. This is a 2-minute question, and I will begin. In 2021, Coronado City Council repealed its ordinance requiring a special election to fill a vacancy, making California Government Code 365121 controlling law. Under that provision, the sitting City Council has 2 options when facing a vacancy: either fill it by appointment or call a special election. If the results of this election create an open seat on council and you were seated as a council person, will you support a call for a special election or fill the seat by appointment? And if your answer is by appointment, the question is, what would be your criteria in selecting an appointee?
Thank you. I think we would always prefer to have an election. I think that's the most democratic and fair way to do it. Certainly, we have the option of doing the appointment process, and I understand some people might prefer that because that might save the city money from doing a full election. But I think what it comes down to is you want to have the voice of the community heard. It's really not fair to have just 5 people sitting up on the dais picking among whoever to have somebody fulfill such an important role in our community. To my knowledge, I don't believe there are any existing criteria, so I think that the council would have their full discretion to do that. I would not support that appointment process. It would not be my first choice. I would say, if it came to that, if others voted to have that, I think that the criteria that would need to be used should be fair, and that every person should be able to at least put in a name. I think we should give some thought to looking at the results of the election. Perhaps the 3rd place candidate would be somebody, if you had to pick, if you were going to do the appointment process, that would reflect the will of a number of folks in the community. And of course, looking to make sure that we embody diversity and folks that are representative of all of our communities sitting on the council, so we don't have the same old people, same old faces, same old pockets of the community represented.
Thank you very much. Great. Mr. Gade, do you need me to repeat the
We should.
I would go with an appointment. I believe that after this contentious election season, that everyone's gonna be, tired of it. I think even the candidates up here would agree that once November 5th is over, we're all gonna be able to take a deep breath, one way or the other. And knowing that we would be selecting someone to fulfill just the remaining 2 years of that open seat. If we were to have a special election, it would take time, it would cost money, and also there'd be a delay, meaning that we would have only 4, 1 mayor and 3 council members, and that could create issues when it comes to voting over that time period. So I think that if we were to appoint, what would be probably the easiest thing to do is possibly appoint who finishes 3rd in the election. And at that point, at least we know that that was what the voters had chosen as far as, out of 6 candidates, the top 3 move in, and then that person that's, takes that position has 2 years, and at that point then, there would be another election to see if residents of Coronado would want to re-elect that appointee or to elect someone else.
Thank you very much.
Free and fair elections are the bedrock of our democracy. Full stop. From the president all the way down to dog catcher if we elected that position here. I believe that we should have an election. We're a very wealthy city. $150,000 is a very small price to pay to make sure that your voice is heard. And depending on who gets elected up here, you may reshuffle the cards and decide you want somebody else or somebody who isn't even sitting at this dais. So I really believe you get to decide this. I don't think politicians should be picking their peers. I think that's a bad look for Coronado. And I know when Chula Vista tried to do it, they had pretty much a riot in at their city council meetings. So I really think your voice is what matters and that you should be able to elect whoever is on the city council at any time there's a vacancy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Warner.
Thank you. Great question. Thought about this. Let's recognize the reality that if there can be 40% or 60% of the city council could be new. That's concerning. My answer would, and I believe, absolutely believe with Laura, the people that you pick have got to have been vetted by the people. You've got to know who they are. They've got to have gone through this process so you know who they are, and they will represent you. There's an option available. The obvious option, so my answer is I would appoint. The obvious answer is we go to the people that are running for city council. I've explored this idea with the city attorney, and this is a valid idea that will work. We can also open up the people that are available to the city council to pass certain past city council people. I've talked to 2 of them who are available, and they have expressed their willingness. If we have 60% of our people are new to the council, I have a problem from a corporate organizational standpoint of corporate understanding and depth of what's going on. I think we need a deep bench. It's a complicated world. There's a lot going on. We have a lot of history, and we need these people that really know what's going on. I am not discounting the people sitting here at all, because I have not heard everything they're thinking about. I have an open mind, but I want options. And that is an option that I don't think anyone has thought about, and it is an option we have available to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we all love elections, and I think it's really important that the people speak and that we have representatives who represent the people. I actually agree with Mark in that I think that it would be okay. We do it with school board. If somebody leaves, we don't necessarily have another election. I've seen that happen in the past and very, very successfully, and ask people to come back. And I think that that works really, really well. I think that we are gonna have a big new crop of people, and I think it would be really great to have some expertise and some corporate history. A lot of us have attended many council meetings and watching them at home and are very familiar with what's going on, but it's very different from being right there in the seat as we're all learning. So I would absolutely look at maybe appointing to save some money and time, and look deep into people who have experience in the past, who might be willing to serve, who've been elected by the people.
Thank you. And will you please pass the microphone to Mr. Gage? The next subset of questions are related to development and our community. The first one is a 2-minute question, and I'll start with a bit of a prelude. Some believe that recent council decisions and actions have contributed to making Coronado an increasingly high-end vacation destination more than a town. Examples of this include the expansion of the Dell, increasing numbers of high-end restaurants, and even the privatization or outsourcing of city recreation facilities and increasing the price of access. What actions or policies would you pursue to balance the drive for development with the needs of residents to retain and maintain our small town? Mr. Gate, I'll start with you.
I think that's actually, it's a very good question. It's something that I hear a lot when I'm talking to a lot of residents on how they've kind of Coronado's lost the small town feel, and how they feel that the city's been taken over by a lot of people coming from out of state, a lot of wealthy people coming in and buying up homes. Also, it's causing an issue when it comes to our school districts. It seems less families, less students attending school. And it's changed the nature and I guess, just the whole dynamic of Coronado. And, I think that's something that it's, as decisions come forward to the council, it's important that we try to balance what's most important. We had a forum this morning at the Coronado Real Estate Association, and most of the questions were around historic designation. And I think it's very important that we try to protect as many historic resources, as many homes as we can in Coronado, and that would try to at least keep as much new development from tearing those houses down and building larger, newer homes. When it comes to restaurants and development, say on Orange Avenue, there's pros and cons. I think a lot of the newer restaurants on Orange have added a lot to the community. And give a lot of the residents a lot of choices. It's also prompted some of the restaurant establishments that have been here for a long time to realize that they kind of have to pick up their game a little bit. So it's a tough balance. I think we have to be careful with protecting what Coronado has and what makes it special, our historic resources, while also making sure that we're the things that we can't control when it comes to some private development. Being careful and trying to, keep minimize it and keep it to a slow process.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. I will skip my long introduction and phrase the question as follows. What actions or policies would you pursue to balance the drive for development with the needs of residents to retain and maintain our small town?
Well, there are two kinds of development. You have commercial development and then you have housing. And they're two different animals for sure. How many of you are aware of the Builder's Remedy Law? A few people? Yeah, the Builder's Remedy Law allows builders to bypass our city planning division and to go straight to Sacramento. And in Santa Monica right now, they're building a 10-story apartment building, low housing, right in the middle of single-family homes. So imagine that right here in Country Club. So that's the kind of development that housing is doing, and that's part of compliance with our housing. So that's one of those things that we have to be very careful to comply with state law to keep that from happening here. The commercial development is a different thing altogether. We have the port, which controls what's happening at the ferry landing. They're putting a big building up there with a new restaurant, whether we like it or not. We have a real density issue when it comes to parking and traffic, and that has a lot of other factors too that have to do with the base and everything else. So, again, it has to do with land use and planning more than anything else, and working to find balance and compromise with all of those elements. The other thing is tourism tax pays for about 38% of our city budget. So we live in a really nice place a lot because of the tourists that come here and spend the money. So we have to appreciate them and make sure they still come. And so it's a balance, and it's a constant balance on city council, and you have to weigh it pretty much every week that you're sitting on the city council.
I love the expression "talk is cheap." I am currently the chair of the Historic Resource Commission. I joined the commission because I value preservation of properties, of historic properties. So I'm doing the work. I also happen to own historic property. I bought this thing 35 years and 3 days ago. I had this thing designated historic, and it now has a Mills Act agreement. It's one of the best things I've ever done, and I spent good money keeping that thing up because I'm proud of it. and I want it to be a resource for this. This is in San Diego, but I'm proud of this property. I'm also a real estate guy. Been doing this for 40 plus years, and I know real estate. I'm an appraiser. I understand the use of highest and best use. Look, 10 years ago, if you'd asked me this question, I honestly would have said, build the biggest house you can. Now, no. I'm getting so tired of these giant houses with no setbacks. It's bothering me. And I personally do not want to live in Manhattan Beach or a Newport Beach with big houses 3 feet apart with that kind of congestion. I don't want to live like that. This town is special. We need to preserve it. We need to protect it. But and the question is, how do you do that? That's the rub. That's the argument we need to have. That's the things we need to be talking about. But right now, it's killing me to say this, but we need to scale back a little bit. We need to preserve this town. The commercial stuff, you know what? Life moves on. Things evolve. Things change. Costa Azul went out of business. In came the Henry. Everybody screamed that it was going to be terrible. Henry's great. It's progress. Things grow. I understand property. Values are going up. When values go up, owners have to get more money to pay their bills. Then they have an obligation to get a return on their investment. That's what they're doing. Unfortunately, that forces out some of our cherished and loved businesses. And I'm sorry for that. Brant Sarber was my buddy. It's gone. We done?
No, 10 seconds.
So we need to really keep our eyes open. We need to really work on this and be aware, but we need to preserve the integrity of this town, because that literally comes back from the back end and improves our values and our lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was a kid and I moved here, the thing that really struck me was that I had some freedom. I could ride my bicycle to school. My best friend would pick me up on the way and take me to school, and it was just this amazing, welcoming community. That was in 1972 when I first came here, just after the bridge was built, been just a few years. And the small town atmosphere is a thing that I missed when I moved. I've lived in lots of different places, being a military brat and moving. I'm being married to my husband for 42 years now, and we've moved all over and always come back to Coronado as our home. And what I love about it are the historic homes. I love our Mayberry, Orange Avenue. I love that we have a movie theater. I love all of those things about our town. And I think all of them are being threatened. And I look at the Hotel Del, and it used to be a lot more friendly. For example, Rotary used to meet there. They've met there for years and years. And now we're really not meeting there anymore. They're not really a friend to us. As a teacher, I always felt that the Hotel Del should be offering our kids to have their prom there and really give them a super reduced rate. I mean, why are we sending our kids driving at night over the bridge to go to some strange hotel? This is our community, and I think the Hotel Del is overstepped and has built out all of these things all the way onto the beach. You can see it, and I just think we can do better. I think that there's a lot that we can do better within our town. Things that make us all happy and a great place to raise our kids, our grandchildren to come visit, and to be just the place that we always loved about Coronado. So historic homes are important, and historic designation is important. Not every house is historical, right? I mean, it's okay to tear them down when they're ready to go. And there's some that are old and tired, and it's good for them to go. But we want to have our beautiful hometown.
Thank you very much.
I think it's about putting the community first. And I know that we're in a place where we obviously have the hotels and it's a love-hate relationship, right? We get the TOT, it's important for our general fund, so we need that, and we respect having those businesses in town. They are our neighbors. But again, it comes down to what's gonna benefit the community, the people who live here. And that's having leaders that are really gonna care about things like that. Like, we have our school, we're sitting here in our school district office. Our schools are floundering right now. Right now, our leadership is making decisions to spend tens, $30 million, $40 million on parks and all sorts of nice to haves. And maybe we can do those one day, but what are we spending money on things like that when we have kids that are getting inferior education, when we have country club flooding, people being out of their homes for 6+ months because their basements were flooded, they had to tear out, all their floors were filled with sewage water. That happened to some of my friends right down the street on Alameda. I live in this neighborhood, I saw it totally filled with water. Why are we expending efforts on things that are gonna benefit outside interests when we're not looking inward first to help ourselves? I'd love to see, as a mom of little kids, you know, we all say kids ride around on e-bikes, they're you know, the scourge of the town. The kids need some place to go. Why don't we build like a community center or something like that? Give kids a place to go do stuff. I think it's thinking outside of the box. What's gonna just help our community continue to grow and thrive and be vibrant? The tourists are gonna come no matter what. We've got a great beach that hopefully we can clean up and people will wanna come and swim, but it's about putting the community first.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you mind passing it down to Ms. Wilkinson-Sinton? Since I gave such a long intro to that question, I'm going to keep building on it for a minute. One thing I did not hear addressed directly in those answers that I want to touch on now is the state mandated housing element. This is a 30-second question. This is a lightning round. My question is, I'm a silver lining optimist a lot of the time. We've had a lot of teeth grinding and consternation about the housing element. I want to know, 30 seconds, what is the silver lining of the housing element as if it relates to the previous question, or your opinion on it in general? And this is a 30-second quick question because there's been a lot of ink spilled on this.
Well, the silver lining in it is we love to think of our town as Mayberry, but I'll remind you, Barney Fife lived in the neighborhood. So we have police officers, we have firefighters, we have teachers, we have nurses at Coronado Hospital. Wouldn't you love to have them live here again? Wouldn't you love your grandchildren to be able to afford to come and live here and get a first home here? We can't do that without having that housing element. And the state is going to force our hand. So we can either control this and navigate, or we can float like jellyfish and let it navigate us for the state.
Time. Thank you. Same question, Mr. Warner. Is there a silver lining?
Give
it to him. Let it happen.
I didn't want to drop it on.
So I'm an optimist. Like Dad used to call me an infernal optimist, and I was like, Dad, what? But no, I'm having a hard time figuring out what the silver lining is of this. The state is forcing us to add housing. It should be market driven. Period. The market solves the problems. They're forcing this down our throat. This is not a one-size-fits-all deal. We're gonna have to add units. What does that cost? Yes, it adds housing, sure. That's good, and people can live here, that's cool. It's a great place to live. But on the other hand, it adds to our density, and it adds to our parking problems.
Time.
That's a problem.
Thank you.
Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when I think about this, there is a silver lining. I'm thinking, first of all, that obviously our teachers definitely need some housing. I think that would be great. And our first responders, most of them live over the bridge. On 9/11, I was not actually working that day because I had a shared contract. But as soon as I dropped my child at preschool, I came right up to the school and spent my time in classrooms because they couldn't get here. So I think that the silver lining would be having that, but I don't think that we're gonna have to end up with that number. I think that we've repaired some relationships and things are gonna be better.
Time. Thank you. One more next back to you, please.
I'd say the silver lining is twofold. I would echo the sentiments of some of my colleagues saying, we absolutely want the folks that serve our community to be able to have a home here. I think that's first and foremost. You know, I agree. This is a finite piece of land. We're already densely built. It's a quandary. How do we do it? We need to comply with state law. I think we've found some solutions, and I guess the other silver lining is working better with the Navy, with the military, with you know, Sandag. We need to work on a relationship so people can understand the position we're in.
Time. Thank you so much.
I believe the silver lining is the fact that we had to designate these areas, but that doesn't mean there's a guarantee that they're gonna have to be built or will be built. Eventually, and ultimately, there will be more housing in Coronado. It would actually be, I think, a great idea to say if we are going to be adding affordable housing in Coronado, that we would designate it for city employees, local employees, and I think that might help, you know, keep the community, you know, more whole, and the community would accept that. Knowing that we have limited control.
Thank you. All right. Appreciate it. Mr. Warner is going to go first this time. This is let's do 30 seconds again. This will be a short one. again, same theme. The question is, would you support a policy or tax on properties that are rented out as short-term rentals that would go to better support city infrastructure and permanent residents?
Hot seat.
30 seconds.
Wow, that's a really good question. I have never thought of that. Yeah, I would support that. Why not? They're making big money on these things. People tell me what I can rent my house for, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Hey, what's 5% of that? That's not gonna hurt. And apply that to good programs that go to good use that benefit the community. Great idea, thanks.
New platform element?
Board of Advisors?
Kitchen cabinet, all right.
You know, I sort of feel like the homeowner is already paying income tax, and I'm thinking about the military families who come here to our town and live here and have given so much richness to our classrooms and our community and volunteer so much and give so much to our town. And I'm just not sure that I would have a tax for renters as well. They're taxed in other ways, and and many of them are paying taxes on properties that they own elsewhere.
Time.
Just to clarify, I think the tax would be on folks that are not permanent residents here, is that right?
Correct, it would be a tax on the income you earn for the short-term rental.
Thank you. Yes, I would support something like that. I think that, you know, we're just talking about our housing issues. We have a housing shortage. If we have people that come here once or twice a year and the house just sits vacant, otherwise, let's have them rented out. Let's generate income that can benefit our community. We've talked about all these nice to have things. I think that would be a wonderful way to balance the interests of people who really live here and the people who want to have property and sometimes be here.
Mr. Gay?
I actually have a problem with our current city ordinance. I think it's about 26 or 28 days minimum. There's, from what I found and heard, there's a lot of people violating that. I would look at actually banning the majority of short-term rentals, if not short-term rentals altogether. We have a lot of vacant homes and a lot of property that a lot of people would potentially like to live in long-term. And that could also be affecting the price and the cost of housing, as well as the cost of rent here in Coronado. So I think that we should actually look at revising and creating a new short-term rental ordinance.
Fine, thank you.
I think all of us have neighbors who have sold, and the people who have moved in do not live here. They're residents elsewhere, and some of them, I know one house in Country Club, he remodeled it and now he rents it in the summertime for $30,000 a month. Now, all of our hotels pay taxes on that. I think it's not unreasonable to ask people making that kind of money who are not residents here and are renting this out because they're using them as commercial properties to pay taxes like they do in every other place in the United States. Vancouver, British Columbia actually has a vacancy tax too, so that's under consideration.
Wow. Thank you. All right, that was some great points, great discussion, thank you. I really appreciate that. Amy, you're up first on this one. These questions go to transparency and conflicts of interest. The first question is a 1-minute question, and it is this: have you or others on your behalf ever intentionally removed or scrubbed material from your social media pages, websites, or profiles? And if so, what was it and why was it removed?
If you know me, I'm not really that great at social media. So I'm really not a social media person, so the only thing I scrub are typos because I can't seem to text very well. So that's the only thing. I'm not scrubbed, I edit. So no, I have not done that, absolutely not. I think you know who I am, and I prefer to talk to people in person, so please reach out to me and chat with me, or stop by and have a conversation. Thank you.
Ms. Mott, same question?
Thank you. Answer no. No, I have not scrubbed or removed things. But I think that we're probably all aware of anyone on social media that does happen in our community, unfortunately. And I think it's, you know, we're part of your opening statements, kind of part of a problem nationwide and even here in our little community. I think it's really unfortunate that we can't be all neighbors and not let that kind of vitriol and hate happen. We're people. We're just humans, just like everybody else. And it is hard to get up and put your name in the hat and to have people attack you online or in the newspaper. It's uncalled for. It shouldn't be happening in this community. And I would say if any of us as a candidate sees someone else doing that and it would benefit you, I think it would behoove all of us to stand up and say, I'm not okay with that. Please don't do that. I oppose that. I condemn that. And I promise that is how I'm conducting myself, and I hope others will too.
Mr. Kane?
No, actually, I definitely haven't taken anything off social media. I'm not a big fan of social media. I actually tried to delete my Facebook account about over a decade ago and was not able to because you cannot have a business Facebook account and page if you don't have a personal account. So I was stuck with Facebook for the rest of my life. So nothing's getting scrubbed. It's all there for everyone to see. And actually, I posted quite a few interesting things and a lot of ideas in the past that might be considered controversial. And a lot of the things that I posted and ideas I've had, sometimes are just to spur conversations. Maybe I don't think that they're necessarily even feasible. But sometimes it takes someone kind of throwing an idea out of right field to get a conversation started. And maybe some of my ideas are just a couple decades too early, too. So I know there's a lot of stuff out there, I've said. I'm 100% against the negativity, the divisiveness and all that on social media. I think it should be reserved for posting nice pictures of sunrises and sunsets.
I'm gonna have to move that.
I know.
And I'm gonna put it back here.
As one of our famous Eagle writers once said, social media is the Trojan horse of democracy. It has brought a lot of great benefits, but the downsides, especially to our children, are just so apparent now, 10 years later. Full disclosure, I did close my Twitter account when they changed ownership because all of the governors came off and everyone could attack everyone, and I felt it was such a cesspool I couldn't participate in it. I'm very active on Facebook, for any of you who have been on there. I'm active on Instagram, but that's really all I do. But I just like Christine said, I think, especially in our community, when we see bad behavior, we should try and diminish that, and try and call people out and say, this is not who we are.
I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram. I have never posted on Instagram. I almost never post on Facebook. I guess you would call me a voyeur. I just like to watch. I just don't say anything. Almost hardly ever. However, I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is who you're gonna get if you elect. I'm honest. I tell the truth. Yeah, I did delete something when this campaign started. I went up to Montana to see my brother-in-law, who's an Army Ranger. He loves guns. I don't really care. And I was shooting a gun, and they took a picture of me, and I thought it was cool. And I put it up there. It's like one of the only pictures I got. And then this came up, and I went, I don't want to hear it. I just don't want to deal with it. So I'm kind of a chicken. I just didn't want to deal with it. So I took it down.
Thank you very much. Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for those answers. I think that's a great conversation. Some great points were raised. I did give our candidates an opportunity today. I invited them to write questions that they would like posed to their opponents. So I'm going to try to weave them in within the appropriate subtopic within my pre-written questions. And so one of the questions from candidate Christine Mott was, where'd it go? Sorry. The question is, who have you received endorsements from? It's a two-part question. First part, and it's 1 minute. Who have you received endorsements from? And two, would you recuse yourself from votes related to special interest groups, PACs, or people who endorsed you if they supported or endorsed your campaign and an issue comes before you as a sitting council person? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am endorsed by the Coronado Democratic Club and the San Diego County Democratic Party. The other question, would I recuse myself? Yes, absolutely. I think that's fair. I think we have an existing conflict of interest policy. I think it makes sense to extend that to folks that have endorsed a candidate, given donations to a candidate. I think that is a fair part, and if it's not already part of our conflict of interest policy, I believe that it should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gates, same two questions. Would you like me to repeat them?
I think I got it. Yeah. So I'm not endorsed by any specific or organization. I have been informally endorsed by one of our past mayors, city council members, and a lot of community members. But more importantly, this is a nonpartisan election, and I think we need to do everything we can to try to keep partisan politics out of our local elections. I've been an independent pretty much my entire life. And I have an issue with parties, getting involved in our local elections, and would like to try to keep everything as nonpartisan as possible.
Thank you.
Citizens United changed all that. Paid political speech is protected free speech in the United States of America. So anyone over the bridge can weigh in on our elections. They have the right to do it, the constitutional right to do it, whether it's the Dog Catcher Society or whether it's, the San Diego Gun Club, whoever it is, they have the right to weigh in on our elections. They are, by Constitution, California Constitution, they are nonpartisan, meaning we can't put our party there. But parties are already weighing in. They've already weighed in, the Republican Party weighed in, and the Democratic Party weighed in, and I am endorsed by the Democratic Party as well. Other ones may weigh in as well. And what we can hope is that everybody sitting here, and when you take that oath, that you represent the city of Coronado. You don't represent these other interests. You can be their voice, and they can support your positions. That's what they're allowed to do. So if you have, the firefighters or somebody like that, they want to weigh in, that's fine. Because you want to support their positions, they want to support you. But you don't have to recuse yourself unless it's direct to that.
Thank you very much.
Can I hear just one more thing?
Yes, of course. The question is, who has endorsed you or your campaign? And if a vote came before the board and you were, the council, and you were a sitting council person, would you recuse yourself from votes involving those groups or individuals?
I am endorsed by the Republican Party, and I am endorsed by the Lincoln Club. The Lincoln Club is an independent organization of business people. They do not take a position right, left, center. They're all about business. That's it. If I was on the dais and there was a group for us and I would recuse myself. However, if you know me, and a lot of you do, I'm a very independent thinking person. I have my own opinions. I listen to people. I take it in. I'm not up there to represent myself. I'm there to represent you, period. I cannot have my arm twisted. I have done so many things in this town that to the benefit of groups that were against my own personal interest. I don't care about my interest over other people's. It's your town. It's your city. You elect us to represent you. I'm not here to represent myself. I have no agenda. But if I ever found myself in that position, I can't even imagine it would ever happen, I would recuse myself because that's the moral, honest thing to do.
Fine, thank you very much. You guys are so good with the timing. You have good internal thoughts. You must not have children.
There is no place for national politics in local elections. I am not seeking any endorsements, nor will I accept any endorsements from political parties. I am not endorsed by anyone. I have lists of supporters, people who are supporting me, but not endorsements. I absolutely believe that if we are going to get past the divisiveness in our country, we must start at the local level. We are friends, neighbors, community, we're Coronado. And so it's really important to me to remain apolitical. And so that's the way I'm running my campaign. And I'm very proud of that. I think it's something that is very needed in our community.
Thank you.
And as far as recusing myself, if there were ever something where I needed to recuse myself, absolutely I would.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm going to follow up because Mr. Gates' question that he would like posed to all of you builds on this topic, and some of you have already expressed some thoughts on this. But so I'm going to modify it a little bit with your permission. The question Mr. Gate posed was, what does a nonpartisan election mean to you as a candidate? And so I'm going to change it a little bit and ask, what is the difference, if there is one, between nonpartisan and bipartisan? in a local election. So that's the question. Does that make sense? And the question is, is there a difference between nonpartisan and bipartisan? And if so, what is it? And does it affect your opinion as a candidate?
What do we have, 1 minute?
Yes, 1 minute.
Well, I mean, I think, obviously, we shouldn't have partisan politics. Our issues that we have locally have nothing to do with either party. The issue really for me is the fact that the party system and having partisan politics in local elections brings a lot of money. It also brings in a lot of divisiveness, and it separates people. And also, more importantly, it could also be a disadvantage to certain candidates, for say, who are running a nonpartisan campaign to, say, a candidate who is, been endorsed by a party. So I feel that may give an unfair advantage. And more importantly, like I said, the issues we have here in Coronado are nonpartisan, and I'd like to try to keep it that way.
Thank you. I hope I did justice to your question. Is it a good one?
Partisan parties, the Democratic and Republican parties have weighed in on Coronado elections for decades. There have been endorsements for decades here. This is not anything new. Bipartisan means Democrat, Republican, it's binary, and then nonpartisan means that you don't get to put your party, and parties don't need to put people on the ballot. No political party put us on the ballot. It's just because they agree with our values and we agree with their values to move it forward. That's what that means exactly. The fact of the matter is we do have partisan provocateurs in our town. And as long as we have that, we have to have the ability to defend ourselves. That's just the bottom line. And that is the world we live in. I wish it was different. I really do. But it is not the world we live in. And we live in a place where people want to support the candidates that support their values. And that's where we are. And that's what I'm dealing with. That's what we're all dealing with. And that's why many of us, when we heard the Republican Party was endorsing other people, we went to the Democratic Party to make sure that we could fight on an even playing field.
Very much. Time. Thank you. 2 seconds.
I know.
Is that 5? See me elbows flying over there.
That's 5.
Easy. Partisan means you're advocating for an issue or side, say the Republicans. If you're nonpartisan, you don't advocate for anybody. I'm a Republican. I don't even know what the Republican Party's issues are, or policies are with Coronado. I have no idea. And if they came to me and wanted something, I'd tell them to go away. I don't care. This is Coronado. This is one of the great things about our town. This is why we're so special. We're nonpartisan. We don't play the game. We do what's best for our city and our citizens, period. Who cares what the Democrats want? Who cares what the Republicans want? Who cares what the anarchists want? I don't care. I want what's best for our town, I want what's best for our kids, and I want this place to stay great, and I want it to get better. That's how.
Thank you very much. Perfect. All right. Go ahead, Amy. See you this group.
I'm not sure I can make it any clearer. I absolutely believe there's no place for partisanship in local elections. And I fully believe that we create our own realities, right? I mean, I believe that by all of us coming together and not separating, that we can build a better tomorrow. And that's what I want for our children, that's what I want for our families, that's what I want for our entire community. And so partisanship is not something that I partake in.
So I think the question was, what is the difference between nonpartisan and bipartisan?
Yes.
So nonpartisan means, I think Laura's already answered this, on the ballot, you're gonna see just our names. You're not gonna see a D or an R next to our names. This is a nonpartisan election by state law. That's every single municipal election in the state. Now, we all know, we've disclosed a number of us have been endorsed. So that's like a shorthand, right? To answer the other question, bipartisan, that means working together. So that means even if one Democrat gets elected and one Republican gets elected to city council, we're gonna put aside whatever individual, personal politics we have, and we're gonna work together for for the good of the community of Coronado. That's the job.
Thank you very much. All right. The next question is a brief answer, 30 seconds. Do you belong to or support any gun owner, gun rights organizations?
Oh, boy.
If so, which ones and why? And I believe Laura's first.
Well, I lived in Georgia for a while, so I can shoot some great clay pigeons. But the fact of the matter is, I do not belong to any gun clubs or any gun organizations or the National Rifle Association. My personal belief is that, we're sitting in a school building. This is a fear that we have because they seem to be ubiquitous and everywhere. Everyone gets to make that personal decision. It is our Second Amendment right, but we have to protect our kids. I really believe that.
Mr. Warner, same 2 questions.
I do not belong or endorsed by any gun group. I've never belonged to one and I'm never going to. I believe in the Second Amendment, period. But I have a hard time with citizens owning AR-15s. I have a really hard time with bump stocks on an AR-15. These are assault weapons. They're weapons of war. Why are they even in our society? And we have to worry about our kids. We don't need lockdown situations and closed buildings for these kids. They're just gonna cause anxieties more than they've got now with social media. So no, I'm never gonna belong to anything like that.
Thank you very much. I can be trained.
I do not belong to any gun organizations at all.
Yeah.
And I am married to a Navy SEAL. And he says absolutely no weapons, that these weapons do not belong in society. And I think that you'll find that many military believe that, and I certainly believe that. I worked with kids who were absolutely terrified after school shootings, and we needed to sit down and talk to them. We'd just have to sit in a circle and talk to them about it, and make sure that they knew that I was gonna do everything I could do to keep them safe. And we had a Navy SEAL come in and assess the room, which was always good. Yes.
Thank you.
I do not belong to any gun organizations. Second Amendment rights, I respect them respectfully. I believe that just like in many of our other rights, there can be reasonable regulation. I don't believe that anybody other than the military needs military weapons. I also think it is, to be frank, troubling that some candidates for city council or mayor have received endorsements by gun owners, PACs. Why? What does it have to do with Coronado? That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am not part of any gun group, not endorsed by any. Again, I'd echo what some of the other candidates. I believe in the Second Amendment right, but I also do believe that we shouldn't have military-style weapons, and that there definitely should be certain levels of gun control for the safety of our community residents and our children.
Thank you very much. All right. The next subset of questions is related to our public safety and our infrastructure. It's a 1-minute answer, and the question is this. We had a reference earlier to the situation, but the question is, if a neighborhood in Coronado is unable to use their drains, showers, toilets, and laundry, as happened here in Country Club in January of this year, due to failure of city infrastructure, again in the future, what action would you take or initiate to ensure access to sanitary and hygienic facilities for those folks in a situation like that? And I believe Mr. Warner's first.
Is this 1 minute?
This is 1 minute, yes, sir.
A little bit of that again?
Yes, of course. If we have a situation where utilities, necessary utilities to live are shut down.
Got it, thank you.
Got it.
I'm a geek. I love infrastructure. I love going into basements that have buildings. I like pipes. I'm a weirdo. I watch San Diego and go, man, that is such a badly run city. And I go, wait, we started in 1890. Our pipes are getting old. We need to get on this, like sooner than later. The sewer line behind my house keeps backing up. We need to fix this stuff before it goes bad. Response? I guess it would be a FEMA type response. Bring them all in. Trucks, housing, tents, water, food, everything they need immediately. And it's a great question, and I wonder, one of my concern is if we have a war and all the military and all the support lands in Coronado, how are we gonna support all these people? We have to. Do we need more police? Do we need new fire? This is gonna be a problem, and we need to have an action plan in place before it ever happens. So that's one thing I do wanna get into with the city manager is, are we prepared for the worst case scenario? I run my life on worst case scenarios. Somehow, they never happen. Maybe because I go through it, but when someone says don't, they do.
Thank you very much. So I've got infernal optimist and worst case planner.
Yes.
Under your
Yes.
name. I'm learning so much this evening. I love it. I hope y'all are taking notes. All right, go ahead.
So first of all, you need to have emergency action plans ready. You need to think about them, you need to be prepared, and you need to practice. So, in the schools, we do drills and things like that, but we also need to practice in our communities. So what is it that we need? And we need to make sure that we're educating people, that, we should be having a couple times a year, we should get the information. We used to hear drills all the time that used to, tsunami warnings and things like that. I haven't heard one in years. I don't know about you all, but I haven't heard one in years. And so I think that it's really important to take a look at those action plans and make sure that everyone knows what they are and what to do, and then bring them in if you need it. I think they should have evacuated when they had cyanide gas detected in IB, and they should have enacted those emergency evacuation plans immediately. So I think we can do that, and it's a little more difficult here with the bridge and the Strand, so we need to be prepared.
Thank you very much.
So I have a unique perspective here. I live in this neighborhood that was flooded. I saw people in kayaks riding down the street. I mean, that's how much water we had here. We got notices, you can't flush your toilet, you can't do laundry, you can't take a shower. Tell that to like a 3-year-old being potty trained, no, that's unacceptable. The city failed us. I'm concerned that our Parker pump station is still not gonna be ready before the next winter storm. I think they probably should have put people up in hotels. I think it's insufficient to say, hey, go to the community center and take a shower there. That's not gonna work. So the city screwed up. The city should have made good and took care of its citizens better. I think we need to get on top of that right away. I mean, we need to be doubling down on our energies to make sure that we have basic infrastructure so we're not flooding, people are not out of their homes. It's just not acceptable. So, thank you.
I think it's pretty evident that the city is lacking, a plan when it comes to situations like what happened with the flooding. I think part of the question was access to fresh water, the possibility of even working with the military. I do know there's desalination trucks and things like that. Looking at putting people up in hotels, even if that meant, bringing them over the bridge to San Diego, because we may not potentially have enough space in our hotels here in Coronado. But definitely we need to be expediting, investing in our infrastructure, to do everything we can to make sure that we're preparing ourselves for these situations in the future, but also more importantly, have a plan for when these potentially events happen, that we're prepared to take care of residents.
I was a public safety officer for the County of Los Angeles. I was an LA County lifeguard back in another life. And I can tell you this, after spending the Sunday afternoon embedded with our fabulous fire department, San Diego County does have emergency services, and they plan this risk assessment, and they plan for these disasters with every city in the county and every area in the county. So they go through these drills, and they have these programs in place. When you have a 1,000-year storm like we had, there's no infrastructure you can build that would save Coronado from that flooding. There's none. And in Southeast San Diego, they had it much worse than us. Can we do better? Yes, absolutely. And we need to plan for more local flooding because climate change is here, and those 100-year storms are coming every 5 years now. So we have to build out the infrastructure. Our sewage crisis is because we deferred maintenance down there at the IBWC. We've done the same in our city, and we need to get on it and get building.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. All right, I will sneak in now. Sorry, I'm sorry, did you answer, Mr. Moore?
Yeah.
No, yes. Yeah, you went first.
I'll guess first one.
Yeah, he's the first one.
You wanna do it again?
All right,
He wants to do it again.
We want to make him answer.
answer twice.
That's right. That's right. Yes, because that's when we learned you catastrophize, like me. All right, so I'm going to jump to, we're going to do a lightning round, 30 seconds. If you do, can you please tell us, and I believe Mrs. Stewart, you're first. Stewart, you're first this time. Who are you supporting for the other seats on City Council? Obviously, I'm going to assume you're all supporting yourselves. The other seats on City Council, mayor and school board races.
I personally don't think that that is really anybody's business. And I think that the thing to tell you, is that I can work with anyone. I can work with anyone. And that's really what sets me apart. I mean, as a teacher, you take all these people into your classroom and you make them the best version of themselves. Teach them dare to dream and they become their best version. And I think that's what this is about.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer because I have all their yard signs out in my yard, so I think it's public knowledge. Besides myself, I would support for City Council my colleague Laura Wilkinson-Sinton. For Mayor, I support Casey Tanaka. For School Board, Shawnee Barton and Renee Kavanaugh.
Thank you very much. And I meant to add, did I say, this was candidate Christine Mott's question for the panel.
I'm not currently supporting anyone other than myself. I know all the candidates that are running. I respect all of them. I know all the candidates that are running for mayor. I also respect them as well. I get this question asked quite a bit actually when I'm talking to people in the public, and I find that it's actually very similar to the questions I'm asked of what party I'm affiliated with, or other questions that have nothing to do with Coronado issues. So ultimately, I feel that the public and residents will pick who is the best representative for the city.
Thank you.
I am supporting Christine Mott and Shawnee for school board. I really think we need to get more young people in government and more young people in city government to represent us. We tend to be older, and I don't think they have the representation that they need as the youth, because they're going to inherit this from us, and they need to help us with the guidance here. So those are the two that I'm supporting as well.
I'm going to respectfully refuse to answer the question about the city council. I am like you. I'm evaluating everybody. I'm watching. I'm learning. I'll make my decision at that time. I have 2 signs in my yard. You can go see them. Fitz Lee, I have his sign. I support him. And Renee Kavanaugh. I know Renee. She's great. For mayor, I think we are very lucky people. They're all great. I sat down, I talked to Casey. I love Casey, he's a great guy. I told him to his face, Casey, love you, respect you. I'm voting for Donovan because we need a change. We need new blood for that only reason.
Thank you very much. Okay, Christine, you are up next for Mr. Warner's question to the panel. The question for Mr. Warner, again, this is 30 seconds. Please tell us in what roles you have served the citizens of Coronado and how long you've been doing it.
Sure. Let's see. So I currently sit on the board of the Coronado Floral Association. I am chair of the Friends and Flowers events. We do programs that are free and open to the public on topics related to flowers and keeping our community beautiful. I'm a member of the parent organization at Christ Church Day School, where I help our school become and stay the wonderful place it is. I'm on Save the Trees Coronado, founding member of that, a member of the Soar Optimist Club of Coronado, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some things. I love to support Paws of Coronado because I love animals.
Thank you.
I'm on the City of Coronado's Mobility Commission, a newer member of the Rotary Club. I'm a board member of the Coronado 4th of July Committee. I am also a proud member of the Island Beer Club, which is one of my favorites. And there's another one I'm also forgetting here too. But ever since I got into Coronado, I've gotten very involved in Coronado and being part of the community. So I feel that's very important that we serve it and looking to get more involved.
I co-founded StopTheSewage.org with 4 other Coronado grandmothers here and women, and we have worked tirelessly collaboratively with Imperial Beach to try and clean up our beaches. And obviously, and one thing I wanted to make sure everybody knew, we do have sensors that we have put at 4th and Alameda and at Silver Strand Beach, so that's really important. It's a laundry list. It's everything from Camp Babel, Audubon Society. I have been active with the Coronado Cage Yacht Club, Seagulls down there. There's a bunch of stuff that's on my website, so I guess you'll have to go to there to find the rest.
Thank you. Maybe I should have done more than 30 seconds, but that's what I did, so we're sticking with it.
Can't do it. Coronado Yacht Club Board of Director, 4 years. Coronado Yacht Club Commodore, 1 year. Coronado Yacht Club Staff, 14 years. Negotiated and signed a land lease with the Port of San Diego. Senior member of the Coronado Yacht Club Finance Committee, 18 years. Rotary Club Board of Directors, 2 years. Coronado Maritime Foundation Board of Directors, 6 years. California Board of Directors, Plaza Board of Directors, 8 years. Commissioner of the San Diego Historic Resource Commission, 2 years. Coronado Historical Association Building Committee, 1 year. Coronado Committee to Make a Wish to Coronado. Coronado High School Football Chain Gang Fund, 3 years. Rotary Beach Cleanup, reactivate Rotary Speech Contest.
Thank you very much. He knew that question was coming. That's how it goes. All right. Thank you so much. I believe Andrew's up first, right? Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, here we go, ready for time. All right, so I'm one of the co-founders of Neighbor to Neighbor during the pandemic, where we separated the blocks in 196 blocks. I brought Take a Veteran to School Day here in Coronado. I'm a Rotarian. I coached jump rope team for 15 years, Coronado Speed Spinners. I'm founder of Emerald Keepers, educating the community on all kinds of different things. I'm a past board member of the Arts Commission and of the Coronado Schools Foundation. I've been involved in
Thank you. I will say, I can confidently say we have just about every avenue covered by this group. Thank you all for your service. I'm going to give a shameless plug because I have a microphone. We could really use more board members on the Friends of the Library board. So if anybody's interested in joining that board, please don't hesitate to reach out, because that is one that really does a lot and we really could use more people. So Andrew, you are first. This is a long question again, but I think it's really important. Recently, there was an event at the high school auditorium screening a film about the rise of Christian nationalism. It was, I think, a full house that attended that screening. If you're not familiar, Christian nationalism is loosely defined as a belief that, and I'm quoting the definition that I Googled today, a belief that celebrates and privileges the sacred history, liberty, and rightful rule of white Christian conservatives. End quote. Between Awakened Church claiming our city spaces as their campuses, speakers, coaches leading public school children in Bible study or prayer, efforts to ban books on issues concerning history and civil rights, and even folks on national television inciting attacks on our library staff, my question is, do you believe in keeping a separation between church and state in our civic lives, in our community? If so, what would you do as a city council person to protect our civic community in this climate? And if not, why not? And what would you do to incorporate the two further?
Is this 2 minutes?
2 minutes. It took me 5 minutes to read the question.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I'll do my best.
All right, thank you very much.
I think, personally, I believe in the freedom of information, but at the same time, it's very important that we are not allowing certain groups that might be considered to be extreme to be coming into our community and putting information out there that would be considered to be unacceptable, contain hatred or any kind of information that would not be acceptable to our children. So I definitely would not want the city to be offering facilities for use for these types of groups. Even though at the same time, like I said, I do believe that these groups, that they have they have the right to their own opinion and their own information. I'm not here to tell anyone how to think, but there are what people are doing on their own versus what is being done out in public. I'm not a fan of banning books. But I also have a problem and would have an issue with us allowing there to be books with information that is not deemed to be acceptable to our children. So there's definitely a balance there. Yeah, that's the answer.
Thank you.
The Establishment Clause is settled law, the separation between church and state. I don't want anyone else deciding what my grandchildren are reading. A free society, free people read freely. And I trust the librarians, the American Library Association, our school librarians, and the librarians at the Coronado Library to make those decisions when it comes to protecting our children. They are the professionals, they are educated in this, they know how to do this. When it comes to renting city facilities, if they are a 501c3, if they are a legitimate company, the city cannot discriminate against them, even if they find some of their views heinous. I mean, to be honest with you, the Ku Klux Klan could legally rent that same community center. But because our society here in Coronado shuns that, they do not feel welcome here. And that's part of our society. We get to decide what we consider acceptable in our own lives, in our own homes, and through our own groups. But we don't get to legislate it by law. That protects us, but it also leaves us vulnerable to these kind of groups too. So it's a balance and making sure that we do the right thing here as a society and as Coronado community citizens.
Well, I got some time to think about it. I'm still thinking. I believe in the Constitution of the United States. We've had generations that have died to defend it. We need to honor that. It needs to continue. It's the greatest system man has devised to date. I believe in the separation of church and state. It makes sense. Let's keep it that way. The problem starts to become when we have these groups who are getting really smart about hiding their real, true intentions. Let's use Awaken Church. I know about as much about Awaken Church as I read on their website. And of course, they think they're great. I don't know. Are they a real church? Are they a cult? Are they an anarchy group? I don't know. This is the problem of finding out what is the truth. And I don't know the truth about that particular group. I don't know the truth about a lot of groups. And that's where it gets really hard. And that's where we have these issues amongst us, because some of you might believe their Awakened Church is great. Great, that's your right. Some of you might hate them. That's fine, that's your right. I just don't know what the truth is about that particular group, and I don't know how to handle them. But if they're a legitimate, God-loving, God-fearing group that are doing good things out there and can prove through actions, not words, then they should be considered to be able to use facilities. Now that gets down to the separation of church and state. And the city can't support those organizations. We're not supposed to do that, and we shouldn't. So I'm confused, and it's one of those subjects I'm still trying to work my way through, so I'm sorry this wasn't a great answer. That's the best I can give you.
Thank you.
First of all, I definitely believe in separation of church and state. And as far as Awakened Church goes, there's another good thing about being married to a Navy SEAL, because I just sent him off to check out the Awakened Church. So he went to the Awakened Church in San Diego and came home telling me all kinds of interesting things about what was going on out there. And basically, if you can imagine, guys all puffed up and looking really strong and could you just do that for me? I'll have Dale do it. But here's the thing. I mean, he said it was kind of a tribal beat. He said it was kind of a brainwashing sort of situation, and they are trained in that sort of thing. And that's what they had. He also went again at the Hotel Del when it was there. And I stood outside very proudly with my pride flag out there protesting that they were inside. So I don't think that it's fair that they're saying that it's our campus. That is not, our facilities are not their campus. School facilities are not their campus. City facilities are not their campus. And so I would say that we need to protect against that. I mean, separation of church and state is what we need to do. And we should absolutely fight against hatred at every opportunity. Don't allow it.
Just today I was made aware of some horribly anti-Semitic flyers that were left on windshields of a number of cars right by our own Coronado Middle School. Horrible. Someone apparently came in overnight and was placing these. As someone raising Jewish children, I mean, that makes me terrified. I think it's horrible for anybody, if whether you're gay, Jewish, whatever, any minority. No one should feel that there's some hate group coming in and trying to attack them. I think others have mentioned that we have, the problem of we can't discriminate against a church if they are legally a church. But what we can do, we can show as leaders. I think the city of Coronado can take a leadership position and say, we don't accept hate, discrimination, this type of vile behavior in our town, period, end of story. I think our community's done a great job. I know there have been a number of community rallies showing support for our LGBTQ community, and I think that's what we need more of. We need more love, less hate. I think we need to come together to show these outside forces they don't have a home here, and then they will not target us, and we will never see them again. But
Thank you very much.
that's it. Thank you.
We did get a follow-up question that somebody ran up to me. So I'm going to give you just a yes or no to this one. The follow-up is, have you clicked on the links on the Awaken website that go through to Turning Point USA? Is the question.
What?
Did I get the question right? Whoever submitted it? Did I not get it right? I guess the question really is, are you aware that the Awaken Church website links through, if you follow their links, to Turning Point USA, which is a pretty far-right extremist group on the national stage. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I'm just going to ask for a quick yes or no if you're aware of that, because that seems to be the question. I'll go ahead and ask you to say.
I was not specifically aware of that.
Okay.
Not aware at all.
I'm completely aware of that. I did click. And on the other ones, I wanted to research the entire site so I would know what I was talking about.
Never heard of them, didn't click.
Thank you.
Been on the website, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I have a few minutes left after some audience questions. And, I think just following up on that, I agree with what everyone said about that question, but it builds on my comments in opening, is that supporting one another and standing up and saying that everyone's safe here, and we don't care who you are, if you're whatever group you're a member of, you're safe here. And as leaders, if we can do that, as a community, if we can do that, I really agree with the folks that said that like that's how we make sure everybody knows they're safe and loved, and then the other folks can do what they're gonna do. So that's just my editorial. The next question is, and I'm gonna start with, I believe Laura's up first this time. Please tell us, and I'm gonna give 30 seconds. Please tell us your position on the recycled water plant at the golf course. I believe this is coming back before City Council in the future because it didn't previously undergo CEQA review, and it was a proposed plan to create basically use of gray water to irrigate the golf course, and it was, I guess, approved, so now it's gonna come back before the City Council. So that's the little bit I know.
So we're one of the few municipalities in Southern California that does not use recycled water or something known as purple pipe. We use drinking water for everything. We spend $1 million a year at our golf course for drinking water. The Colorado River Pact expires in 2026. It's 100 years old, and without getting too wonky, we have 5 states in Mexico fighting over the Colorado River. No, our water bills are gonna go up 25%, and that's before the droughts that come from climate change. We are in a severe shortage, and we need to plan for the future, and the only way to do that is through recycled water. So yes, I'm very much for it.
Fine, thank you very much.
We're in a drought. We're always going to be in a drought. We live in the desert. I'm for recycled water. This plant, I got a lot of questions. I don't know how much it's going to cost, who's going to run it, who's going to fix it, who's liable when something goes wrong, so who's going to get sued, who's going to defend us. What's the role of the port in this? The port owns a lot of that land on the golf course where they're going to put this. What is their participation in this? This is a very complex, very detailed plan, and it also affects our streets. This is huge, and it needs to be studied.
Thank you very much.
With the coastal campus that was built down on the Strand,
the city government actually paid a lot of money to get their sewage because they were going to be doing this plant, and because they wanted the wastewater. And you know, I think that reclamation plants get a bad name because they do toilet to tap, which is really kind of a misnomer. It is just such a minuscule amount of the water that is used in sort of for sewage in terms of reclamation. It's mostly water.
Thank you very much.
I think conceptually, yes, we definitely should be looking into using recycled water. So as I had mentioned, you'll see, you know, traveling throughout San Diego, the purple pipes, you know, and signs that, you know, foliage by the highways being watered with that. That makes perfect sense, and I think we should look into it. Of course, we need to undertake a proper environmental impact study. We need to have public comments, and we need to be doing it in a way that makes sense for our community. I think this is another example of, there are so many good sustainability solutions for our community, and this is just one of them.
Thank you very much.
If this project comes back to the city council, I would definitely want to look at moving forward. It's part of the golf course modernization project. We already are in the process of starting with replacing irrigation, and talking to Tim Farmer. They're already putting in place connections to this future potential water recycling plant. We will be working with Cal American Water and the port on this as well. And I think it would pay for itself. Breaks even around 19 years or so. So it would be definitely a very smart investment for long-term sustainability.
Thank you very much. Right, I have one. I've got time for another audience question. This is to all. Mr. Warner, I believe you're first at this time. The question is this: would you be in favor of cannabis cafes where folks could smoke, vape, ingest cannabis while eating if AB 1775 is signed into law?
How long do they have?
Oh, I think 30 seconds.
Oh, we need a minute.
A minute, but no more.
100% opposed over my dead body.
You did not need 1 minute.
He did not do that.
I don't need a minute either. I don't believe that there's any place for this in Coronado. I just don't agree with it.
I think across the board, smoking and eating, no, absolutely no, that's just gross.
Definitely not for having marijuana lounges and or even dispensaries in Coronado. There's plenty of them. You can go down to IB or over the bridge to San Diego if you want to partake. But I am definitely a big fan of food.
Every day.
When my mother had multiple sclerosis and was dying at Frederica Manor, medicinal cannabis was the only thing that diminished her pain. When my husband went through 6 surgeries and 4 dose-dense chemotherapies, medical cannabis was the only thing that assuaged his pain. I'm very clear that this question is directed at me. I will make it very clear. Coronado has settled law. They voted against having any cannabis dispensaries or any cannabis businesses in the city of Coronado. That is settled law. And I would recuse myself from any decision that had to do with that from the city council, obviously. But even more importantly, by state law, you can't even put one here because you have to be 600 feet away from a school or a park. And there is no place on this island that is 600 feet away from a school and a park. And that's why we love living here.
Thank you. This last audience question is a little meaty, but I'm gonna throw it out. You guys have stamina for, I mean, I'm showing you, there's a lot of words on this little card.
1 minute question?
It's 2. I'm gonna just go with the first one and we'll see if there's any time left. So the question is this, let's do just 1 minute, really is all we have per person. The question is, what is your opinion regarding the recent Unified Port District Master Plan for Coronado? And I believe Amy first this time. Is that, do you want it again?
The port master plan.
Yes, the Unified Port District Master Plan.
Yes. I recently attended a meeting at the Port District, and there were all the different leaders from San Diego in the room, and I was looking at their master plan. And of course, they brought it up for Coronado, and the first thing I said to him is, I said, you know, my biggest problem is maintenance. You know, they build these beautiful facilities, and then
I look at them and they don't take care of them. And I'm not sure there's a lot of input from the community. I mean, it's port property, but it's Coronado. And so I really believe that we need to look at that. What was that number you just looked up at me? 30, okay, thank you. I saw this number
20,
flip up.
now it's 20.
Okay, sorry. So I think when you look at the port master plan, we're looking at the new restaurant that's coming in on the port. I mean, it's just a little oversized. It doesn't really match with our architecture that we have there. I think there's some other opportunities. And do we really need another restaurant over there? I don't know. So not much I can say about that. I guess I'm out of time, right?
I think we need to have better communication and better relationship with the port, so maybe we can come together and agree on what the plan is and how facilities are maintained. If you look at like Tidelands Park, there's always cigarettes and all sorts of gross stuff. It's just not well cared for. I think generally speaking, I would say the community doesn't really want to have this new restaurant that's going to be there. I think a lot of people would love to see open green space, a dog park. There's so many other things we could do. And so, as Amy mentioned, this is Coronado, even though they control it. So I think that we need to have a better voice so we can advocate for ourselves what we want to see in our community, and it can be cared for and reflect what we want in our values.
So the new restaurant development, their next El Fornado has been approved and will be built, whether we like it or not. But the good news is that from what I've heard talking with some current council members and past, is that there's a informal agreement that by building this restaurant, allowing the port to build that restaurant, that they will not develop the boat storage area into a hotel resort area in the Cays, and that will potentially be an open space park. So the good news is that hopefully with the master plan, Coronado's able to take one restaurant in that empty lot that was already designated for it, get a park, additional park space with beach access in the Cays. But long term, we really need to make sure that we're staying on the port for maintenance. I agree with what Amy and what Christine said about Port not doing a very good job of maintenance. Long term, we really need to try to strike a balance with maintaining as much local control as possible in Coronado.
The Port of San Diego does not answer to the city of Coronado, ever. Just so you know, it's a state agency. They make their own independent decisions. And when I studied this in my master's program at ASU, we studied the ports of California. Port of San Diego stuck out. I actually wrote an op-ed in the San Diego UT about the Port of San Diego that I suggest you look up. They have no oversight. And that's why I worked with David Alvarez and flew to Sacramento on my own dime twice to get the governance of the port changed. Frank Artasin, who is our port commissioner, does not represent us by state law. He represents the people of the state of California. And I will add, he also is on the board of directors of a cannabis company too, and nobody accused him of trying to put them at the ferry landing. He is as well. So the way the port governance works is very different. It's a 400-page port master plan. They plan on developing all of Harbor Island and Shelter Island. If you look and see what's across the bay in Chula Vista, they are a development company. But these are our state lands, and your voice matters at the State Lands Commission and at the port, and as well as this bill that's changing. So I would really get involved in port stuff because they can really Bigfoot us here.
Oh, time.
Spent a lot of time at the port. Big picture, Port Master Plan has gone on for 10 years. It's a really good plan. A lot of time, money, and effort has gone into this. It's very inclusive. Down to the small area, Coronado, we got the restaurant they're proposing. We have no choice on that. We have no say. I spent 10 years working with the port and the city, fighting the Coastal Commission to keep them from putting a path through the Coronado Yacht Club that went right underneath the boat hoist. Someone was gonna get killed. And we fought them I fought them for 10 years. Finally, they've given up. We're gonna have probably some access, which is a travesty of justice because the Yacht Club and the city did what we call as a land swap, and we gave them some of our land. The Coastal Commission agreed that was access, and then completely reneged on the deal. That's who you're dealing with at the state and the Coastal Commission. So I support the master plan. It's a pretty good plan overall.
Thank you very much. That does conclude the questions that I had prepared, and from the audience, I would like to just give each of you a chance to wrap up, very briefly, 30 seconds, maybe thank your favorite moderator for the to say for a closing thought? And okay, I'll start with you. Just do 30 seconds if that's all right. Yeah. 1 minute. You guys can hang out one more minute, right, for each of them? Yeah, let's give them one more minute. Oh, we have to get out of your building.
First of all, thank you all for showing up. I know this, hard to come out in the evening and all of that, so thank you so much. And I appreciate the opportunity. I really believe that my background shows that I can affect positive change. It's something I do every day. I'm doing it with Emerald Keepers now. I did it for 28 years as a teacher, and now I'm working with Emerald Keepers, founder and president, and we've made some huge changes. And by the way, with the port, we've even cleaned up the sewage that's down underneath on the moorings. So they've been very helpful with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you, my favorite moderator. It's been great to be able to have the opportunity here tonight. I would say I'm a fresh voice for Coronado. I didn't grow up here. I moved here and I want to be here. I'm raising kids here. I'm an attorney. I've done a lot of work on legislation, public policy. I feel like I could jump right into the role of a city council member. I want to see what's best for Coronado for not just one decision, at the next city council meeting, but for our whole future, for our kids, for our future of this community. Thank you.
As a small business owner, as someone who's worked many different jobs, working since I was 10 years old, as a native Californian who's seen what's happened to the state, I could tell you wholeheartedly how much I appreciate what Coronado is. Since I first moved here, I've been doing everything I can to get involved in this community, learn everything I can about its past, its history, talking to residents. I look forward to the opportunity of continuing learning and helping guide me to be a great representative for you.
Our community is going to be facing a lot of big challenges here in the next 10 years, and we need strong leadership. We need advocacy, not complacency. The reason you voted term limits in for the city council is because you wanted fresh faces, fresh voices, and new energy in there. I will bring that new energy and I will defend this town 100%, and I will try and earn your vote every day. I suggest, if you can, go to my website, lauraforcoronado.com, and thank you very much for being here. It really means a lot that you're all here.
I believe experience matters. I've been in this town for 25 years. I've got a laundry list of committees, commissions, and boards that I've served on and will continue to serve on. I bring that to this town. I have a long list of a resume from business. I've been a business leader for years. I've owned, operated companies, small and large. The last one I had 175 employees. We had $1 billion worth of real estate that I managed and I handled. I also believe one other aspect is you have to get along with people. I get along with people. I've been on boards for years and years, and the reason is I get along and work well with people.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay, as you're leaving, I just want to thank again all of our candidates.
Yes.
Next Tuesday at the Win Room, we will have all the school board candidates. So we invite you to join us for that at 5:30.